Hey, what's up, guys? It is the August 2019, our Gym Vault coaching and team development training. As always, this stuff, even though we're doing it in August, is going to be for pieces that are really going to be applicable in September and then October and beyond training. As I was mentioning earlier to some people, that this is the piece of the training for long-term growth to stay ahead of the market for the people we work with. Where the daily training videos are how to implement, right? So we have our onboarding site is to get everyone on the same page of your gym. If you don't have your whole staff going through the Gym Vault course right now, it's included in your monthly membership. And get them, send me their emails, tim@juicecompound, tim@thegymvault.co, and I'll get them in there. It's included there. Then we have the daily videos and the monthly overview. That's how to implement the training. And this next part is how we stay ahead of the market, and that the last thing our coaches did wasn't their L1 or their L2 in 2015, right? Okay, first up, we always start with communication and leadership. This piece is about a video on how to speak so people will listen, right? A big part of being a coach is being a good communicator. We say a coach for kids is three things, right? We're a parent, we're an entertainer. For an adult, we really aren't, and we're a teacher, right? For them, we're the coach, right? Part entertainment, part fun, yes, absolutely. Part therapist in there for sure of those pieces. So to make sure that the things we're saying, this is a big part of the job description, that people are able to hear us, right? And you'll get coaches that come from different backgrounds. They might be a school teacher, they might be military, they might be anything. Those are two big opposite ends of the spectrum for me. They might be someone who's really good at knowing the training on paper, but they've never trained in a group. You might get people that come from a big hoorah cheerleading background but have never worked one-on-one, right? Or have to talk to someone after class about them not reaching a certain goal. So having the skills here of interpersonal relationships and connection is super important there. And I'll say that coaches that can do this well do better and have a bigger following than coaches who just know the X's and O's, right? Because we can always teach people the X's and O's, hopefully. It just takes reps and reps. But some people never quite get this part down, and facilities that do end up thriving for longer, right? Because ultimately, the stuff is online, right? Like you could go find a workout somewhere, but it's more than that. It's a workout that is goal-based for what they want, that is delivered to them, so that way they feel like they're getting this training in a powerful group that is designed for what they need towards their goals, and it's communicated really well. That's powerful, and that's retention. Okay, managing a group can be really difficult. We have different factors, right? Different personalities, needs, expectations. Why do people come to your gym? What is their background? Are they brand new to training? Are they a former Olympian? Right? What are their goals? They want body comp. They want to compete. All these pieces are really different. And if you're going, hey, we want to go work on high time under tension, and someone's going, I want to work muscle ups. Well, how do we communicate this to them in a way that they feel like they're heard, they feel like this training is going in a direction they want, and we're educating them about where the training is going, because ultimately they're not the I won't say the master, they're not the person who has a knowledge base. You are as a coach. So watch the video, and I want you to have a discussion here on what's said in the video in the TED Talk. Three things. Number one, it's a little introspection you can do on yourself or as a group. Number one is, what areas are people naturally attracted to listen to you, right? Are there areas in training, are there certain movements where people want to come over and they're like, I gotta hear about this guy? We had a couple coaches at our gym at CrossFit High Voltage, named for Peanuts and Brown Bear, and they were our powerlifting coaches. And they weren't the most aerobic-y coaches in the world. Like, I don't think anyone hired them for their 10K coach. When it came time to deadlift and back squat heavy, like, people were all ears. So they know that. They know people really gravitated towards them, not just in general, they're great people, but also in this area, they gravitated to them a lot. So that's first. Where do people naturally listen to you? And then I want you to think really closely, what areas do you have a harder time holding people's attention? For me, personal training, I did it for years. That's how part of doing seminars and PT for Taekwondo was how I, in addition to stipends and sponsorships and stuff, how I funded myself while I was training in Taekwondo on the national team. So I did it for a long, long time, but I really don't love it. Like, it's not my jam. right? So I have a hard time there, and it's like a lot of strain for me where a group is a lot of fun. Oh, I'm just like invigorated at the end of it. Working with coaches, I'm invigorated. I'm not tired. But 2 hours of personal training, I'm like, I've got to go to the bar, and this is rough. So think about that. Where do you have a harder time holding people's attention? Then finally, what insights does this give you and as your group for your personal coaching development? So again, I can't answer that. That's something for you to look at and to find out what areas do you have to work on, what areas are you strong that you can work with your other coaches on. Some people need Toastmasters because they aren't great at public speaking, but they have a lot of knowledge. They can't get it out right. Some people have a military background, so they're really loud and confident, but one-on-one with a newbie may be more difficult. So those are obviously two broad generalizations. That means they're absolutely a fact. Now that means just that's going to help you dig a little deeper into your own process. So that's first. Number 2 is assessments, right? As we work through the rest of this training cycle, we started off with a lot of functional bodybuilding, a little higher repetitions, good movement mastery, body weight control, muscle endurance, and strength endurance, right? As we progress towards more output, heavier lifting, heavier overhead, we go back into that CP endurance piece where it was hang cleans, dumbbell snatches, and strict handstand push-ups, and some other parts there, overhead squatting. It's gonna be that position with tight shoulders can really be difficult for a lot of people. So I have a video. Hi, honey. I'm going live on a lot of stuff right now. Can you sit here while I talk? Yes? I missed you. Okay. Tight shoulders. We have a video from Dr. Hahn. Right, and this one he's going to go over a really simple warm-up protocol for tight shoulders, which is also, it's all connected. Thoracic mobility, where's that connected to? Hamstrings, where's that connected to? Ankles, Achilles, calves, etc. It's all connected together. So what I want you to do is look at this video. Can you go with mommy, please, and thank you? You want to stay over here and do CrossFit? Okay, see, we do CrossFit in the garage. She knows, but no falling, okay? There, how do you implement this with an assessment with individuals for personal warm-up and as a group warm-up? Meaning there's people that need this before class. No, honey, not right now. They need it before class. How do we help them? And if they need it during the general warm-up, how do we help them? Okay? The second part, with the discussion for your members. Who is this appropriate for, and who is this maybe people that you need to identify before class starts? Over here, honey, I'm talking, okay? Before class starts. Sorry, guys, this is the real stuff. We're going live, okay? That's to get ready. And then what I want you to do as your skill is practice this warm-up sequence with another coach for 5 minutes. Then find 3 members that you want, that you identified before we start class to stop them. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Got it solved. Next up is movement and exercise selection. Right? We have our good buddy, Dr. Mark Chang, on here. He's an awesome, awesome world-class coach. He works with On It. He works with the U.S. Short track speed skating, the Olympic speed skating team, in addition to so many other professional athletes. He did a video for us on the Cossack squat, which is a lateral lunge variation. This works really well for us as we increase some of the functional bodybuilding and unilateral asymmetrical movements we're doing. We're increasing complexity on those. So from going from initially where it'd be a split lunge, now we're going into a little deeper lateral lunge with the Cossack squat. So again, watch the video. What I want you to be able to do here is analyze his approach, right? Just because he's someone I think is an absolute master, we have to always look at things with a critical eye and go, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of his approach, right? That's our job, is to do that and go, what is really great about this and what things maybe don't fit for our facility. That's fine. Your facility should not be everything to everyone. What is that? Like, you're McDonald's, but you're also like a high-end bistro. Like, it doesn't work, right? You have to pick your area, pick your stuff, and then really go down the middle for who you serve best. And that's how we do it. We find who we serve best, and we stay ahead of the market so we're always able to be in a position to lead them. Number 2, what movements would this be appropriate for a warm-up, corrective, cool down? Right, look at those together. So for a warm-up, if we're doing heavy back squats, people have hip mobility issues. Would this be a great thing to help them open their hips up and get their legs ready for some heavier squats? I think so. What are some other areas I want you to look at that as your coaching staff? what members would benefit from implementing this. And finally, I want you to practice this sequence with 3 members you've identified before class, if they need this for activation or after class. Okay, so look at that together and then identify after you practice it so you can get some reps in there. And as you see, every step here is do this, and what's the answer? Get some reps. Do this, what's the answer? Get some reps, practice this, get the reps, right? Because knowledge is nothing if we don't put it into use. The final part here is going to be training protocols. We're going over lactic training, okay? So we did a bunch in our monthly overview video on lactic training. I want to go over the different parts of it, the good and the bad. Lactic training, that's high effort. We call it the nasty, where it's unsustainable training. It can be fun to watch, maybe not so fun to do, but the benefits are really, it can be very good for the right people. Right? This cycle has some lactic power. Our first test is a 1K row. We go into some mixed lactic power pieces, our 20 calorie row plus 20 dumbbell power snatch plus 20 burpee box jump over for time. Right? And we go into Fran. We built up the pull-ups from Nicole. We built up the leg strength from Karen. We built up the strength, speed, endurance from the big clean complex and Oli complexes, and the back squat endurance. Built up the aerobic system from the longer running intervals, right? So we're putting these pieces together so we know they can handle it, right? But at the same time, who's it right for and what are the pitfalls? Now, here's the idea. The lactic and glycolytic energy system is essentially our unsustainable energy pathway and fuel source. This approach can be effective for the right people at the right time, but it's not right for everyone. There's a few reasons why it's not right for everyone we'll talk about here in a minute, right? Especially on an ongoing basis. When designed inappropriately or implemented inappropriately, too much lactic training can lead to overall fatigue, impede recovery, and stunt progress. And I'll give you a quick rundown. Someone isn't getting, and this goes into fueling, right? We should want some carbs pre-workout, not a full bunch of gut pasta in our gut. We need some carbs, and post-workout protein with carbs for recovery. Absolutely important, right, for this, okay, for fueling. Here's the general cycle. Someone's cutting carbs. They're going paleo, and you're like, we're going to give you some lactic workouts. You're going to put you on your butt, and it's great. So now they don't have the fuel to have the output, so they're using different parts of their body. I don't want to necessarily say adrenals, but it's tapping their CNS too much to get it. They can't express the power. They can overexpress the power. They don't have the fuel to do it, so their body's sending all these hormonal stuff to try and compensate. They don't get it in recovery, so now recovery takes longer, right? Now stress hormone kicks in. They can't sleep when we're stressed. We generally can't sleep well. So they get early sleep or later sleep. They generally get later sleep, right? So they sleep a little later, and now they miss the part of the recovery where our body kicks in human growth hormone for positive recovery. So all we get is the cortisol side a little later in the night. And what does cortisol do when we don't have that to balance out with HGH, right? Men, stress responses, we store it in our gut. Women, the side's over here. That's a natural stress response, right? For if things are crazy, we should have high cortisol levels to try and survive. But we're not in survival. We want to shed fat for many people. So if we're training our body to go hard but also hold on to fat, we're working against each other. Now we didn't sleep early, we only slept late. Are we getting early morning sunshine? No. Are we tired in the morning? Yes. What do we do for we're tired in the morning? Well, probably have a bunch of coffee, force our Red Bull, force ourselves to get up. Yo-yo, now we need carbs maybe to try and have energy. If we do have carbs, we carb crash, right? All these things happen. Now we're up on the carb cycle, excessive carbohydrates, especially in the form of refined carbohydrates that we don't burn because we don't have the right carb timing now, pre and post. We're using it in the morning when we're sitting at the computer, get stored as excess fat. So you see how we're doubling down on this cycle now, and we're working against ourselves. So that's the downside of doing this. But the benefits are, it can create a positive stress adaptation in the right people. It can allow for metabolic adaptation and new enzyme use, and it can allow for increasing aerobic power output at a threshold level for longer for athletes who can use lactate and pyruvate as a fuel source, okay? Precursors for lactate training. They should have been able to, 1, sustain high aerobic power workouts, because that's what happens if I say run 400 meters every 4 minutes at your 1 mile pace. You should be 130, 130, 130, 130, not 130, 135, 139. that's already going lactic when it should be aerobic. So we haven't learned to sustain yet and use oxygen well. That means we can't recover from high intensity bouts. We also should be able to express power, meaning someone who can't do a deadlift at body weight, are they really going to be able to slam a ball 20 times hard enough to get their body to rev as hot as we need them to be like, probably not, right? So that's why we focus on muscle endurance, strength endurance for beginners. Then we enter the strength continuum, and then they can start to express that system. Most lactic and glycolytic workouts include high muscle contraction rates. So generally strength, speed, endurance, or absolute speed endurance. That's why you see light thrusters, dumbbell power snatch, slam ball, kettlebell swings, things with a little load that you can just grind through and it's almost going to stop, but you can keep going. Initially, they're generally effective for air bike, rower, and sled than in the mixed movements, right? Final thing is usually harder to do this with higher skill movements. So the moderate skill is the sweet spot. Muscle ups, too hard to go lactic. Single unders, too easy. Okay, so the final discussion here, what are the potential downsides to too much lactic training or programming? People want it, they think they want that shiny commercial, that shiny Instagram video, but what happens when we really give it to them and they don't have the right precursors? For a workout like Fran, what precursors would you want for a person to express properly, right? I generally want someone that can do a 180-pound thruster for a 1-rep max, so 95 pounds is 50% of their max, plus 90 pull-ups in training, so that way we can whittle it down to 45 pull-ups for intensity, plus some other precursors, right? So they have strength, they can do strength speed, they can do speed, strength, endurance. We want that. They can do it with density. They have good structural balance. What happens if a member can express power for recovery, but not recover from conditioning? What if they can express the system, but they can't, they never seem to get tired from it, right? What fueling do they need? What groups of your members are good candidates for this weekly or regularly, and which ones are not? And then finally, really think critically, what are common errors you see in new members looking for this specific dose response of lactic training? So that's what I want you to discuss. There's a lot to unpack there, but understanding this part right here is going to really set your coaching and communication on fire. So look at that stuff. Tell me what you think. I hope you have a great coaching meeting. Thank you guys so much.